Characters in the competitive timeline of Mortal Kombat have often had these crazy ups and downs across the titles, NOOB SAIBOT being one of those examples that fits the bill perfectly. He's been broken beyond belief, unviable as anything, and sometimes somewhere right in the middle. A classic character who started his journey within the secrets and hidden content of the arcades, NOOB SAIBOT became a fan favorite very quickly. But mechanically actually has some very interesting stuff, once you look past all the bans anyway. Welcome to a competitive history of one of MK's most notorious characters of the 90s, NOOB SAIBOT. Okay, so usually I straight up do not cover non-playable appearances in this series, but with NOOB SAIBOT he had so many of them that I wouldn't do his humble beginnings justice by leaving this out. I mentioned Rain's first little tease in my very first episode of this series, and NOOB SAIBOT was no tease. Noob could be fought against. NOOB SAIBOT was the most hidden character in Mortal Kombat 2, with a story told by the one and only John Tobias. Ed Boon got in a bit of trouble with John after secretly putting Reptile in MK1 Revision 3. He promised that there wouldn't be any more characters that only he knew about for future games, and then, in Mortal Kombat 2, with everyone on the team knowing about Smoke and Jade, here comes this shadowy figure with the backwards names of both Ed Boon and John Tobias, as a light-hearted joke to Ed Boon's still apparent cheeky nature. Ed was legitimately the only person on the MK team who knew about NOOB SAIBOT in MK2, and the rest of the team found out about the character mid-development of Mortal Kombat 3. How crazy is that? In vanilla MK3, NOOB SAIBOT returned as a secret, taking advantage of the pre-game combat codes that you can now punch in. You could use the code 769342 to fight against Noob in one round. He is just Kano with an all-silhouette palette. He has no specials, but a faster walk speed and Kano's dialer combos. In Ultimate MK3, NOOB SAIBOT makes one of his more true appearances. Now the ninjas exist, NOOB SAIBOT is remade, basically. A fellow ninja without specials once again, but more health and fast walk speed. Not playable, but at least a bit more standout than vanilla MK3's version. You can fight Noob via the same combat code, or as one of Shao Kahn's treasures for beating the arcade, said to be one of Shao Kahn's deadliest warriors. Now we've got the many secret fights out of the way, it's time to actually cover his first playable appearance. The 16-bit ports of Ultimate MK3 would mark the very first playable versions of NOOB SAIBOT and Rain. The crazy thing about NOOB SAIBOT in not only this version, but the following versions to come, is that holy crap, this character is broken. There's many reasons as to why, and it kind of changed from game to game as well. At its basic level, this is classic NOOB SAIBOT as a fully realized character. He has a teleport that launches the ticket to the giant damage. This clone throw will launch the opponent, another fantastic move. However, this is the big one. This projectile right here will stop the opponent from blocking and being able to land damage on you. Basically, hit this thing and you've won the round. Combo strings are generous. His kick string is as easy as it gets by pressing low kick 4 times. He has a string that launches too. You're hard pressed to find something he does that doesn't somehow land a combo into crazy good damage, no matter what version of NOOB SAIBOT that you have. Now, you can look at the many tool-assisted NOOB SAIBOT videos to see his hilariously crazy long combos and stuff, but I'm going to keep it simple here. Clone Toss recovers pretty much the second you throw it in the 16-bit versions, meaning that Clone Toss into another move becomes a reliable combo linker. You can use it in the corner for extra damage, mid-screen as well, but the real crazy stuff is just backing up a Clone Toss with an instant Ghost Ball. They can't block as they stand up, which means they're totally screwed. The game doesn't have wake-up attacks, so the clone being man-sized, it's not like you can just get around it easily. This is pretty much guaranteed. Basically, this version of the character was unbelievably broken. It broke the rules of the game, and was banned whenever competitive 16-bit Ultimate MK3 was played. Yes, by the way, it does get played, mostly with emulation, but it is big in South America. Now, the version of Noob Saibot you're likely the most familiar with back in the day came from Mortal Kombat Trilogy, where he is still the only character outside of bosses that we've ever seen be banned from competition. In Trilogy, this is no exception, as his move list as a base is the exact same kind of thing. In this game, he's notoriously known for his infinites, even outside of the Ghost Ball unblockable business. The infinite involves his teleport slam, and although across the N64 and PlayStation version you'll execute it a little bit differently, the infinite as a function works the same here. Noob is still this outrageously broken character who once again tends to be banned outright. The only time you could maybe play this character was via Chameleon, as some players believed that the limited morph time to be a bit more balanced. It was always hard to think of Chameleon here though, because you never saw him in competitive play anyway. I made a video about the Chameleons if you want more info on that subject. A key difference is that the instant straight clone toss recovery doesn't exist in Trilogy, so you're not going to have the same kind of combos, but it doesn't matter. Everything will lead into Teleport Slam, and Teleport Slam is a free, easy infinite. If you struggle to beat the game as a kid, you probably used Noob Saibot because of his easy strings in Ghost Ball. I know I did. Trilogy Noob Saibot was broken, banned, and doesn't have a place in the tier list because of it. A fun fact before I start the next generation version of this character is that, did you know, for a very short time, Noob Saibot was actually playable in the arcade version of Mortal Kombat 4. During the MK4 Road Tour across North America, which was a promotional tour that I covered in depth during my MK meta of this game, Noob Saibot was actually a playable character here. Now, this build was extremely bare bones, and most characters didn't really have combos or anything, but I gotta admit, it's cool to see him in action on arcade, although very brief. He would be later replaced by Reiko, and that's where his arcade journey ended. It didn't end for him on consoles though, as on console, Noob Saibot was a secret unlock. You could unlock him by either beating the game with Reiko, or using the hidden cheat menu. You've got to put in a combat code to even start the cheat menu in this version, but once you've done either of those things, you can select hidden on character select, hover over Reiko, hold start and block, release block, and press run. Playing hidden characters in old school MK was, an experience. In MK4, Noob is pretty basic, and you'd almost never see him played anyway. There's no point covering his normals, as in Mortal Kombat 4 the combo system is universal. Now when it comes to specials, he has Tanya's Grounded and Air Fireball, both of which are really good projectiles in this game to be fair, an air throw by pressing block next to an airborne opponent, and Reiko's teleport. It doesn't work so well for Noob in this game though, because Reiko's flip kick really complements that attack, which Noob Saibot doesn't have. He has something quite unique to him in this game though, which is a scythe weapon. The best thing about the weapon is its reach, by far. It goes great distances, and it bags super easy damage of a launch. But really, that's it for Noob Saibot. He's quite standard in this game. I'm really excited for this one. I'm about to cover possibly the least known version of this character, which is in Mortal Kombat Gold. Noob Saibot is a secret character once again, with the cheat menu in Gold unlocked slightly differently, but the function's the same. You haven't got to mess around with the combat codes this time, so that's always a plus. You may be wondering why I'm covering a character twice in the MK4 era. In most cases, I admit, I actually wouldn't, because the MK4 roster almost never changed from game to game here. But Noob Saibot absolutely did. He's much more of the Noob that we remember, and trust me when I say, that's not a good thing here. The character is really buggy. The teleport and grounded fireball still exist, but he doesn't have his air fireball anymore. What he does have is the Ghost Ball, otherwise known as the Block Orb in this game, but at least in this revision of MK Gold, it is super broken, and I'm not even talking mechanically. If it hits an opponent in the air, they can get suspended in the air until they jump to get grounded again. As you might expect, this results in some pretty hilarious situations. When I said that the air fireball is gone, he can still do something in the air. The Block Orb. Now, I'm not one to make theories, but it kinda seems like when putting this character together, the wrong fireball was used for the airborne stuff. He's clearly not supposed to be able to do this one, as it has the grounded animation, so what the hell happened here? Even more broken still, when Mustard and I were playing this game 2-player last year and we picked both NOOB SAIBOT, we discovered that Player 2 NOOB SAIBOT's Block Orb applies the debuff to himself, making the move completely unusable if you're NOOB SAIBOT with Player 2. MK Gold is notoriously busted as a game in general, and one that I do plan on covering in detail one day, but Noob was just so hilariously broken even outside of mechanics here that I had to cover this for the video. The rule of thumb is that every new character in Gold is utterly broken and basically in a tier of their own, and Noob does kind of fit into that too, as his Block Orb is ridiculous. But it's hard to even focus on potential competitive when the character in this revision is as buggy and hilarious as he is. He kind of barely works, to be honest, but I had a good time. Okay, Mortal Kombat Deception saw the return of NOOB SAIBOT, but not as a standalone character. In this case, Smoke and Noob have teamed up, and are actually a tag team, taking up the slot of a single fighter. They have one fighting style each, and no weapon. But that's alright because many believe Noob Smoke to be a top 3 character in the game's meta. Why is this? Well, this was the next game to release after Deadly Alliance. DA was generally seen as the most well-rounded and least janky 3D game because it didn't have all of the broken stuff that future 3D titles would have in it. Deception added some new stuff that was not that intentional and I think definitely bugs, but they would fit the game plan of Noob Smoke perfectly, where the character can exploit all there is to be exploited in the game to great effect. We'll focus primarily on the noob portion of the character for this video, but we do have to mention Smoke as, well, they come as a pair. Special move-wise, the two characters have their own moves. NOOB SAIBOT has a dash punch that uses smoke to do it, and most notably for him, an invisibility. 3D MK invisibility is often very powerful, so this is definitely a good tool. His other effective move only happens when you're using smoke because Noob will throw ninja stars. They work really well after a juggle and allow for impressive damage, on top of being pretty damn good on their own too. Universally, the two of them have a dive kick that will swap character each time, along with a standard teleport that does the same thing. The meta of Noob Smoke comes down to specific tools that take the broken stuff in the game and puts it to really good use. For starters, Deception introduced hitting people off the ground, OTG for short. Some moves that splat the opponent to the floor, normally you can't continue, you just get some kind of pressure or something. But in Deception, you can still use certain attacks that will pick them back up and continue the combo. It's broken, it's one of the main reasons a character would be top tier in Deception, and in Noob's case, he can get a teleport mid-screen if the throw lands, and if it lands in the corner, his standing 4 launcher goes so low to the ground, it picks them up into almost a half-life combo. Another new feature in MKD was that throws are now unblockable, but there's no tech either, so if an attack is plus enough to hit guaranteed with a meaty throw, this will be a free set of damage. You put these two together and it's kind of ridiculous, especially as in Deception you can sidestep throw meaty, which often works as a free grab as they stand up, and against the wall this has the potential to loop. One of the most notorious grabs in the entire game, arguably, was Smoke's, as you can combo from it into something that gives you a free throw and loop this infinitely. Even without the loop, you can use the combo damage to impressively convert anyway. The two characters' grab games are unbelievably powerful, not because it's meant to be that way, but because the bugs and the unintentional stuff in the game basically means they get more than they should. When playing as Noob Smoke, Smoke tends to be the point character, as Noob's specials with Smoke act as great assists almost. Smoke has a gas cloud and a full combo teleport. If you have Noob out, you can mix between grab and his standing 4 launcher while invisible, but it is very unsafe. Generally, Smoke's the one that you use, and Noob is there to hit hard and be super annoying in a pinch. The character used all of the new features of the game and basically took them to the bank. The blood bank. With the release of the next fully fledged 3D fighter, Mortal Kombat Armageddon had Smoke and Noob as separate characters. Where here, Noob gets a bit of an upgrade in some areas, and in others he's a bit weaker, mostly due to bugs being removed. But truthfully, I prefer him in this game because of the tools of Noob Smoke still somewhat work for him here, even if it's a different game. First of all, Noob gets some new moves. He gets his teleport grab back, which, to be honest, isn't that impressive in this game, but he also gains the ninja stars as his own projectile this time. And interestingly, the portal trap. Now, this is hard to hit people with, and it's not an amazing move by itself, but it's cool to see it in the game considering this portal would be so important in his next appearance. Invisibility is still there, as is his flip-based throw. Now, he gets an immediate change here where the OTG no longer works, so no Half-Life combo against the wall off a throw for you. In other areas, his hand-to-hand works basically exactly the same as it does in MK Deception, with all the same normals and strings. The strings can transition very cleanly into his troll hammer though, which is the weapon Noob's been given in Armageddon. The hammer itself, like other hammers, is not very good. It's slow, sluggish, massively unsafe, not worth using on its own, but it provides a high damage ender for the hand-to-hand combo strings that make the change into hammer worth it just to close out combos. 2-1-1 is your general go-to in hand-to-hand, as you have 2-1-1-3, 2-1-1 stance change, but outside of that you still have your standing 4 launcher and a pretty decent low in down 4. Characters are super simple in Armageddon, I've said it many times before, and Noob Saibot is pretty good, all things considered. He gets decent combos, the stars will extend his juggle damage just like in MKD, invisibility is just as powerful in Armageddon as it is in Deception, he's far from the most unsafe character in the game, which is saying a lot, far from the best character in the game, as the top tiers in this game are actual gods, but to be fair, he's pretty good. For the slightly newer generation of Mortal Kombat fans, this version of Noob might very well have been your first introduction to the character, which, if it's lore and design you want, nice! If it's gameplay, not nice. Unfortunately, Noob Saibot was a low-tier character competitively throughout the entire game's lifespan, and then the release of prominent DLC characters totally invalidated him from the roster because they did his game plan better than he did. Noob Saibot in MK9 was fun on a casual level, and even against the mid-tier or other lower-tier characters if you're just having fun, but so many of the top-tier characters utterly destroyed him. If you use this character in a tournament, you'd better have had other characters in your pocket because this character was almost never gonna win on his own. Special moves were really cool, a lot of his old kit redone and looking fresh. In this game, however, he was reworked to be a keep-away character, a strong zoning archetype. Straight Clone is a good projectile by itself, with the Shadow Slide acting as a low option. During the game's patch days, the tackle would be changed to be an overhead instead of a mid, but honestly, it didn't help him much. Enhance either of those to do more damage. Teleport is another pretty forgettable move. It's good for air-to-airs, but it's really unsafe. Doesn't do much damage, and on Enhance will simply do more damage. The risk-reward is not in your favor here. Things get more interesting with the rest of his specials. Up Clone is a diagonal kick that's a great wake-up attack. It's a fantastic combo tool in the corner, with Enhanced launching much higher. Listen, this is your one and only combo tool, so learn how to do those up kick corner combos and mid-screen converting into the Enhanced one, into a simple ender. His other two moves are the Ghost Ball, which prevents blocking on hit and will mix up their controls on Enhanced, and his final special is the Portal, which is the most notable new inclusion for a lot of people. There's an unblockable trap here that you need to jump over, and the Enhanced version comes out a lot faster. This was a huge knowledge check online, or even sometimes in tournament, because if they didn't know the matchup, the Portal traps looked really broken. Unfortunately, tech roll into a jump would always dodge the setup. None of them were real. Noob's biggest issue was... actually, a lot of things. First of all, his damage outside the corner sucked. Most of his useful buttons didn't combo into anything, so your best bet was string into teleport. That's it. Sometimes you could use the enhanced up kick, but the damage was still bad compared to everyone else. His whiff recovery was horrendous. Most of his moves you'd want to use took ages to come out. They're pretty slow and, oh my days, the recovery was terrible. You could hit someone with a move, and if it connected at a weird time, they'd just get up and punish you. His zoning was okay, but when he got knocked down, the up kick was all he had to stop complete annihilation of Rushdown. And it could be made to whiff by knowledgeable opponents. His Ghost Ball was, to be fair, very good in the corner. But getting someone to the corner as Noob almost never happened because his kit wasn't designed to do that. Finally, we'd see the release of characters like Kenshi and Freddy into the downloadable roster. Cabal ended up being an incredible zoner, so did Reptile. I mean, Noob was outclassed and, dare I say, competitively irrelevant. There's no reason you would use this character unless you genuinely liked him, which, to be fair, I did. It's fair enough. He's a cool character, but not very good, which is a shame. The latest version of Noob Saibot belongs to Mortal Kombat 11, where the defensive archetype for him reigns the strongest he's had, but due to the various versions the game's had across the years, he does have some other tools as well. Some immediate drawbacks come down to things like poor movement, where his dash is so slow that he's one of the few characters that really can't wave dash around the screen like everyone else, but in other areas he can make up for it with high practical damage and very strong range. Noob was seen as a pretty average character on launch, then his slide attack was buffed to be 2 hits on Amplify, which helped important things like crushing blow requirement and safety and range, pushback, all that good stuff. But then he really came out to play with Ultimate and the custom variations being tournament legal. I think it's likely best that I go over some key variations one by one that players like to use, and I'll just explain in real time how they fit the character and why we see them in tournament play. Noob Saibot's a good character in this game, so enjoy! So doing all of this in real time, I want to kind of go over each variation that we see competitive Noob Saibot players use, and a little bit of information as to why. Noob Saibot is a space control character. As I mentioned, his mobility is really poor. If you want to try and do like a dash block, for example, a wave dash, that's not good at all. Compared to other characters that are flying around the screen, Noob Saibot does not have that same kind of luxury. He makes up for it with decent range, and a lot of good range on his specials and buttons, and that really is what Noob has been designed to do. Early on in the game's life, he was not considered particularly powerful. However, in the first proper patch of the game, this special right here, the Shadow Slide, this used to be standalone. It used to just have a slide and that's it. However, he was then given the ability to amplify it. Now the amplify, on top of doing really good damage, that on its own does almost 17%. Importantly, the game has crushing blows. Now unfortunately I don't want to show them because obviously MK11 on YouTube is quite difficult for creators. However, the crushing blow off his tackle does massive damage on its own, and it requires 10 successful clones to land. With the buff of this move, that actually counts as 2 clones for the price of 1. So you've got damage, range, safety, which is very important, but also on hit, that crushing blow, which can be quite a game changer, actually becomes a lot more viable. You were never getting it before, but ever since that early patch, now Noob Saibot players can get it quite regularly. Another popular move is the Spirit Ball. Again, not always used, but it's a fantastic standalone projectile. It does good damage, it has good plus frames in the corner, and really the damage is fantastic for a single projectile by itself. This does get used in conjunction with the slide, because put the two of these moves together, you can see you kind of command a decent amount of the screen, and universally Noob Saibot has an up clone. So if you look at your specials with this kind of variation, you cover the ground, you cover that mid area, and you can cover the air all in one go, and 2 of those 3 specials will also contribute towards a tackle crushing blow, so you love to have those together. Up next, we'll talk about some launch potential. Noob Saibot has some of the largest and highest practical damage in the game. Part of it comes down to Sickle Snag. This used to belong to a rather useless variation. Only a few key Noob Saibot players out there would play Pitch Black specifically for this move. Now, thanks to Ultimate, letting you use whatever move you want, you can essentially use Sickle Snag with other better moves, which ultimately, no pun intended, will just help Noob Saibot out a great deal, and it does in competitive play. Now I've swapped over to the opponent as I want to showcase the launching teleport. This is the absolute ticket to where Noob Saibot's practical damage will come from. Now it's been a long time since I've done any of these combos, but ultimately, These kind of confirms bag massive damage and work on any kind of grounded confirm that you're doing. The reason I mentioned that you will rarely see the sickle snag and the teleport together is that in a lot of cases it's not very necessary. However, in this kind of instance, a lot of matchups won't require one or the other in particular. You know, you'll just go with the launch that fits it best. But if you have those higher level, more optimal combos off those grounded confirms, the damage you get from it is very, very high indeed. A variation that popped up to be popular almost immediately was essentially Seeing Double, a regular pre-patch variation that involved the air slam and shadow slide. So you could do the slam by itself in the air, and then you can do the slide on top of it. This was the variation really for the longest time. You had the Ghost Ball, which was a move that we saw from classic Mortal Kombat, but in this game, it's not good and it's not even worth bringing up. The reason we would see post-Ultimate Noob Saibot players use the variation is that they would replace the Spirit Ball, as you'll see, I don't get anything coming out now, with the Air Slam. That really is the important thing, because when I say air slam, I'm saying shadow portals. Turning an air slam into a full combo means that arguably, and I don't even think arguably, Noob Saibot's best pre-patch variation, which was Ghost Ball, Shadow Slide, and regular Air Slam, you take the one move that's rubbish, and you replace it with a move that is much better. Essentially, nothing but a stronger version of a variation that was already good. This Air Slam, when used instantly, essentially would give Noob Saibot massive combos as a punish, while at the same time keeping the utility of everything else. So this variation works wonders, and we do still to this day see Noob Saibot players use this variation because it's all about neutral control and then massive combos if the teleport lands. Very good variation. Now finally, you would see some Noob Saibot players sometimes in tournament, sometimes for a laugh, we'll go for both launches together. I had to kind of stop for a minute there because it has been a while since I've done these combos. You put both of the launches together, this becomes a lot more prominent in the corner, because if you land any kind of combo, you can now turn it into double launches. Now obviously this is going to be far from optimal. As you can see, I haven't done these combos in quite some time. But really, what it means is Noob Saibot is able to get massive combo damage regardless of the situation. You're going to lose a significant amount of utility, and this is going to be almost entirely focused on being up close, because the only range you have will belong to Shadow Slide. And one thing to keep in mind is that in these kind of situations, we have the launch of Sickle Snag, which is offensive bar, the launching teleport, another offensive bar, and then to amplify the Shadow Slide, again, costs offensive bar. So it's a very, very meter-hungry variation, but it all uses the same meter. So if this one's a little bit more for fun, we have seen some players use it. I believe Kratos last year was able to use this variation of Noob to great effect, but it's not very popular. But it is very cool. Noob went through some different stages throughout the competitive life of Mortal Kombat 11, but if we were to weigh in the current version of the character versus the original back in 2019, the Noob Saibot we have now is infinitely stronger. And I think the introduction of custom variations is what really took this character and took him to the next level. He's far from the best character in the game, but he's certainly capable, and we've seen plenty of Noob Saibot specialists do incredible things in tournament. This character can absolutely get the job done. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's been a hot minute since I did one of these videos, but you know what? Hopefully, this installment was worth the wait. These episodes are requested all the time, and I thought it was time to dust off the old script writing, editing, and jump back into what I love doing the most here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to support further, maybe consider supporting my Patreon or something, and I'll see you next time. Tell me what character you want next.